All right, it's 1 minute past 2 o'clock on the East Coast. Happy Monday afternoon. We'll go ahead and jump in and get started. We may have some other folks join us as we get into this. Thanks everyone for investing 45 minutes to 60 minutes with us on a Monday. Certainly appreciate your time. Many thanks to Microsoft, who you'll meet in just a minute, for being part of this. This webinar is being sponsored by CloudFit Software. You'll hear more about our company in a second. We're very excited to have you here, very excited about what's happening in this space on our behalf, and as well as what Microsoft is doing. There's a lot of different approaches to solving the CMMC compliancy problem. We feel like that we've got a very unique solution that you'll hear more about. So, Mr. Moon, if you could advance to the agenda slide, I'll quickly tie off on what we're going to cover during the next 45, 50 minutes, and then we'll jump into the real meat. So we'll do some, I'll do a quick introduction of our two speakers on the next slide, and then Microsoft will go first and talk about what they're doing in the CMM space. They're doing some really, really cool stuff, and then we'll dive into what CloudFit has developed as a solution. I do believe you'll find it very unique as to what's in the marketplace. And then we've got time for questions and answers, and then we'll tie off on next steps. I believe this will be recorded, and we'll make it available to you guys, so you don't have to worry about taking copious notes. We'll get your recording out as quickly as possible. So the next slide, Mr. Moon, thank you.
Wait, just a moment. I have someone who has audio issues, so hold tight for just a moment. Not really sure how to fix them. Somebody's our guest of ours. So
yeah, I think the recording, maybe Heidi, if we continue on, work them on the side, perhaps maybe Mark or Justin can assist, and we carry on, and then we can watch the recording if needed. Okay,
thank you. Okay, just by way of introductions, I'm Rodney Phillips. I'm Client Services Director here at CloudFit. The other voice you just heard mysteriously is Heidi Cavaney. She's a counterpart of mine. She's helping put together this webinar, and she's a Client Services Director. First up will be Richard Wakeman. Richard is a good friend of CloudFit, is a chief architect for cybersecurity in the aerospace and defense space, and has done a lot of really, really cool stuff with CMMC that you'll hear about. And when Richard steps away, Mr. Carol Moon, who's our CTO, will step in and talk to you about how CloudFit is viewing CMMC compliancy and what's some creative things we're doing to help you guys be successful. So without any further ado, Mr. Wakeman, I see you out there, and hand you the baton, sir.
Hey there. Hey, thank you for inviting me to your webinar today. As announced, I'm been working with the defense industrial base now since our inception of the government cloud offerings that we have that are specific to the defense industrial base. So we'll take a few minutes here this morning just to talk about some of the capabilities that we have that would include our Microsoft Azure government and GCC and GCC high environments that provide essentially a platform. I have blogged quite a bit on this, so you'll find that a few of the, especially the compliance blog is my claim to fame. There's been a good reception in terms of, like, I think I'm on the 4th revision for the one that's understanding compliance between commercial, government, and DoD offerings. It was prior to this particular blog, we had just probably 40 different documents and white papers and everything across Microsoft to try and piecemeal together what the full story is, especially start looking at being compliant with CMMC or DFAR 7012, etc. So this helps to demystify it. So I would, encourage you to go and take a look at it. And just as a quick teaser, I'll say, the way that we view compliance is there are two parts to the equation in terms of our customers, right, that would be able to demonstrate compliance with CMMC leveraging our cloud solutions. On one side, there is Microsoft, the cloud service provider, which gives you a platform, right? It include, for example, our Azure government and our Microsoft 365 US government, GCC and GCC high, that meet a number of the compliance requirements that you have and we baseline on our FedRAMP. In fact, not only do we go to the level that's required for CMMC, which is FedRAMP moderate or equivalent, we go all the way to a FedRAMP high, and with the additional controls that you would find even for the U.S. Department of Defense proper, right? So that'd be the cloud computing SRG, up to an impact level 4, level 5 in our government clouds. So what does that mean? It means that you get to inherit, it shortens the putt for what you need in order to demonstrate compliance, because just out of the box, certain things like physical security controls can be inherited from Microsoft. So think of it as establishing a program of reciprocity. Now, it is always a shared scope of responsibility. So there's the Microsoft scope of responsibility, where you get to fully inherit may include physical controls in the data center, right? But most other controls are shared scope of responsibility. So our customers do still have work to do. It's not just by virtue of deploying into the government clouds are you magically going to be able to demonstrate compliance with CMMC level 3. You'll still have to do some work even for a level 1 in there. So that is really the genesis of how we decided to put together Microsoft CMMC acceleration. Can you move one slide forward, please? And that was to really look through the lens of being a customer running on our cloud, right? So that we call it in our world eating our own dog food, right? So that would include, you know, if you look at Microsoft, we have a cloud service provider business. Of course, that's more traditionally what everybody thinks of at Microsoft, that we have products like Microsoft Azure Government, et cetera. But we are also right there with you. We're a defense industrial base, federal system integrator. We prime some contracts. We mostly subprime contracts, but we do get flow down. And we've gone through this whole process of needing to become CMMC compliant as a system integrator and a defense contractor, right? And ultimately, we are like our own customer deploying on our own clouds. In that case, we've got multiple different cloud offerings that we have that span from the more traditional globally available commercial or public multi-tenant cloud, getting into our government clouds. And most folks don't realize that not only do we have a government cloud for CMMC, protection of controlled unclassified information, ITAR, et cetera, we also do have air-gapped clouds as well. So we'll work with the defense and intelligence communities on Azure Government Secret and Top Secret. The other thing that's notable, and I like to point this out probably on the next slide, if you can bump forward one, is that we have a very strong foundation, you could say, in terms of holistically being able to demonstrate compliance with CMMC, that there's more coverage of the 110 controls of CMMC level 2 using a first-party solution from Microsoft than you'll find anywhere else from any other cloud service provider, security vendor. You could call us the largest security vendor in the world, and a lot of that has been really transformational just in the last several years. Over $5 billion of investments into our security products, and that's going to extend another 5 years. Satya has announced that we will have upwards of $20 billion of investment just in our security platform. So you can see that down at the bottom. SCIM recently renamed into different product groups. You've probably heard of all the branding changes that we have around Microsoft Defender, Microsoft Purview, and Microsoft Entra. So between Defender, Purview, and Entra, those would make up the vast majority of our security products, or what you see here illustrated as security, compliance, identity, and management. And in their own forthright, not only do they help you to protect workloads that are running on our platform, such as in Azure Government or in Microsoft 365 Government, it does also extend out to multi-cloud. So that would include hybrid to on-premises in your own data centers, as well as to AWS and Google and other locations. So we have a strong foundation with our security and compliance products, and we're able to demonstrate all but 4 controls of the CMMC level 2. So I call this the product placemat. It's one of the capabilities that help release about a year and a half ago. It's been recently revised for CMMC version 2. And of course, the new nomenclature that we have for the naming conventions and whatnot of CMMC version 2. So we call it the product placemat for CMMC 2.0. And if you bump forward, you can see an illustration of the product placemat. So it is something we came up with to help illustrate in one view how you are able to demonstrate compliance with all 110 controls. It looks like a periodic chart, periodic table. It's laid out by product family. So in this case, you can see everything from the access control family practices all the way through incident response, et cetera. And it allows you to overlay. So if you, for example, double click on any one of the cells for that control, you can see all of the various products that Microsoft leverages in order to help you as a customer demonstrate compliance with that specific practice. So it could be that you would be able to leverage features and functionality of our security suite or just of our platform to help you demonstrate compliance. In this case, we've got the access control family for 3.1.1 to limit information system access. And what you'll find is that in the product placemat, it'll say, you will use, for example, Azure Active Directory, you'll use Endpoint Manager and various other techniques, really mapping out to some implementation guidance. Paired together with the product placemat, we do have a written out version. It's a Word document. We call it the Technical Implementation Guide. So a combination of the product placemat and the Technical Implementation Guide will help you to take advantage of the capabilities of our platform to demonstrate all but 4 controls, practices of CMMC level 2. Pretty significant. There's still a shared scope of responsibility model there. You can see responsibility, shared coverage in this control. And that's really where, we lean heavily on our partner community. It's CloudFit has a set of solutions. If you think about layers of becoming compliant, layers of a cake, right? At the bottom, you've got the cloud service, that's FedRAMP. And then above that, you're going to have capabilities of our platform that would include, for example, leveraging the CMMC acceleration. I always refer to it as something like scaffolding, but there's still a lot of work for you to do as a customer, and that's where CloudFit can really come in and help to see the forest for the trees, right? To be able to come in and help you to configure your subscription and your tenant and help with some of the things that are more people-based processes. If you think about like data protection, it does require you to identify, for example, who's U.S. persons and to enforce that so that only U.S. persons has access to, for example, ITAR data. So that's just really a T, and I wanted to give an opportunity to now introduce CloudFit, and there's a number of capabilities that we've extended, and of course, CloudFit now talk about how you're able to leverage those capabilities with their solutions.
Thank you, Richard. And Richard and I go way back. I was at Microsoft almost 18 years, and as he mentioned, he was there for the inception of the sovereign clouds, and I was lucky to be there helping build those. And so we've been working together for quite a long time. I'm Carol Moon. I'm the CTO here, one of the founders at CloudFit. I tell folks my dream from 8 years old forward was to work at Microsoft, and I was blessed to do that for almost 18 years. And I really consider what we're doing at CloudFit is really still working for Microsoft in many ways, because I left to be able to take accountability for the last mile for customers. Microsoft, if you think about the cloud, they're like the power company. And you can't be a great power company if you take accountability for everybody's refrigerator, even if it's the mission critical refrigerator, say at the hospital for the blood bank. You've got being able to focus. And my job, having helped build and run the clouds at Microsoft, was to take what we'd learned through experience and be able to take that to customers to help them run their applications as a service. So any discussion about CloudFit should start with our core values. It is the core of who we are. So the first and most important one is servant leadership. We're here to serve our customers. We're not here to sell you anything. Same with our partners. We take the word partner very seriously. Microsoft, for example, and a handful of other large and small primes. If we can provide value to you, we will. If we're not the right people for a certain thing, we will tell you, and then we will point you to another trusted partner. This is also important in the partner ecosystem. I realize that folks think, we get asked all the time, like, who are your competitors? And the true answer is we have none, because we're not here to compete. We're here to serve. And so if there are folks that, are resellers of service or delivering of service, if you like what you hear today, call us, contact me. We will have a conversation. I don't need to do all the work myself. I'm happy to sub under you. CloudFit is happy to sub under you, even in certain cases to white label underneath you to help you serve your customer base. So we are not here to compete. We're here to enable, and we want to do the work that we do. And as a point of that, today, we intentionally do not prime in the Department of Defense, even though we're a Department of Defense provider. We bring opportunities to our trusted primes, and we deliver that way. So we're happy and excited to work with you. And then we're also extremely accountable. That is like the buck stops with us. If we say we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And you will find that is the truth with us. We're results driven. Your business is what matters to the team that we assign to you. We care about the outcome. We don't sell our software. We're called CloudFit software because of our platform. You'll hear about that in a minute. But we don't sell that. We sell outcomes. So you pay us to deliver an outcome. You pay us to make sure that you know when you're up or down from a availability perspective. You pay us to know if you have a cyber incident. You pay us to handle the cyber incident. You pay us to make sure that you're CMMC compliant and stay that way. We're about the outcomes. Velocity is also core to us. We want to move fast, and oftentimes we move faster than customers can move. And you will go at the speed of you. Our mantra is you will never wait on us. In fact, CloudFit software is the name of our product suite. The code name for that was Velocity, because the whole point of that is to let us move faster, cheaper, stronger for our customers. And then empowerment. Our goal is to empower your business. And so it may sound fluffy, talking about values, but literally everybody you talk to at CloudFit, I tell folks, it should feel different interviewing with us. It should feel different being a customer of ours. It should feel different working here, and you can't fake it. It has to be the core of who we are, and it is. A little bit more on CloudFit. Who are we? Founded and run by former Microsoft leaders. As I mentioned, I was there 18 years. I got to help build and run the clouds back when it was what is now Office 365, was MMS, then CCS, then BPOS, and then Office 365. I was there through that. We also, a bunch of us got to help build and run Xbox Live. A bunch of us got to build and run Azure. We've got a lot of those folks here. Our top 10 execs at CloudFit, nobody's sitting around. Everybody that founded it is working here. Our top 10 execs have over 140 years at Microsoft, mostly in the product groups combined. We are headquartered in Lynchburg, Virginia, which makes us close enough to DC to focus on DoD. It also happens to be my home city. So we're headquartered here. We do have senior employees in 26 states. It's not because we want to be in 26 states. It's because we hire the right skill sets who fit our culture of servant leadership, wherever those people may be. Also, we're a product company. So CloudFit software is our thing. Our platform is like our accredited suitcase that goes with us to every customer. And in that suitcase is all of our intellectual property. And so every customer in that way stands on the shoulders of every other customer. You don't pay for our platform. We won't sell it to you. If we're doing a managed service for you, you get our platform, accredited platform, accredited in DoD on up from an impact level perspective. That comes with us. Just like if you paid someone to manage your building, you're not paying them for their broom or their hammer. As long as they're doing the work for you managing your building, their tools come with them. The same if you paid someone to mow your lawn. You're not paying for the weed eater or the lawnmower, you're paying them to mow your grass. And so it's the same with us. We are not a consulting company, though we do consulting. and we're not an O&M legacy butts and seats provider. We do it through software and through humans where necessary. And so nothing against legacy consultancies or legacy systems integrators or service providers, but the way that they make money is through butts and seats and through longer projects. So as a consultancy, what you would see is, normal consultants are driven by how long can I make the project and how fat can I make the project? Not for us. We want to get to the O&M. And so there's a blog post out on our website for your application as a service that really explains more of our business model. We are a DoD company. We're 100% U.S. citizen, 100% CONUS. We are operating across all impact levels, and we are also intentionally serving commercial customers, which I think makes us unique. Most people that do DoD work, most companies that do DoD don't do commercial because the margins are different and the speed of innovation is different. We intentionally do both. We do commercial to make us cutting edge and to make us better, which makes us attractive to DoD. The cyber aspects of what we do in DoD make us attractive to commercial. That combination makes us uniquely capable of delivering to the defense industrial base and everybody from a federal government perspective who is beholden both to the CMMC regulations and mandates as well as the executive order for cybersecurity. So we're uniquely positioned for that. Our largest commercial customer is Microsoft. We are a preferred supplier, which lets us to manage app dev, manage data and AI, manage cyber, and manage services for Microsoft's own product groups. So both Office 365 and Azure product groups, we have a significant presence there serving. So I tell folks we didn't used to be Microsoft. In many ways, we still are. We serve customers across the spectrum. Smallest customer that we're serving today is 5 seats. Largest customer that we're serving is 1.5 million seats. It does not matter. Our intention is to be the cloud provider or the mission critical service provider for every mission critical workload that exists. I used to say on the planet, but I can't say on the planet anymore because some of the space stuff that we're blessed to be able to do. We're Inc. 5000 company, Vet 100 company, and we've won Microsoft's Government Defense and Intelligence Partner Award in the U.S. 2 of the last 3 years. And then probably most importantly to us, as I mentioned, my dream job was to work at Microsoft. Was blessed to do that for 18 years. I chose to leave to start this to help Microsoft cover that last mile. I would never have left to do that other than the number one reason was to fund a charity called getfit and another called JobFit. Getfit is about using sports as a way to give young people hope and opportunities, using sports as the enabler. The short version there is only rich kids get personal trainers and travel ball. We aim to change that. It's not so much about the sports, but it's about the life lessons that sports teaches around, grit, determination, teamwork, those sorts of things. And then JobFit is about using IT careers to provide hope and opportunity to adults. So high school students, college students, and career changers. We do free training for them. We do paid internships for them and so forth. I tell folks my first job off the farm was as a janitor. That's still how I see myself. And had people not helped me along the way, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I'm getting to do today. And so those things are really near and dear to us. Why are we qualified to have this discussion? I think it's really important to call out that literally centuries of experience, product group level experience, both at Microsoft and other large, well-recognizable product companies across every industry and vertical. We are serving large and small customers today and truly across every industry and vertical. So from manufacturing to healthcare to financial to DIBS to energy to DoD specifically, we are doing it. So we're familiar with how those businesses and entities work. We are a SaaS-driven company. Your app is a service-driven. We've got patented DoD accredited management platform, as I mentioned, called CloudFit software. It is our accredited suitcase that lets us bring our IP with us. So every customer learning stands on the shoulders of every other. And then if we're there, our tool is there. We run it. If it's a DoD environment or a CMMC environment, we run our tool in your environment so that your metadata, which is still in scope, for CMMC stays in your environment, not mine. And it's included in the cost of our managed services. It's not a free tool. It is an included tool in the cost of our managed services. Again, like you don't pay for the lawnmower if someone mows your grass. the last bullet is this is what we do. These services are our core business. It's not a side thing. It's not a, hey, we're trying to figure out how to make money with CMMC. It's no, this is what we do. It just so happens to be what we do has applicability to everyone that is beholden to CMMC. Let me tell you, the best way to talk about it is two stories. So if you were working with a cloud consultancy, let's say you're a government supplier and you were beholden to CMMC and the mandate there, and you call a legacy consultant to help you. The first step, and this is again nothing against these folks. It's just I just want to show you how we're different. The first step they're going to do is first thing they're going to say is let's do an assessment, and then we're going to write a document for you to tell you what you need to do. The thing there is you already know what you need to do. You need to get CMMC compliant. And then they'll say, hey, if you want us to help you with any parts of this document, we're happy to do it. But Mr. Customer, you own it because we're here to consult, not to do, is what the consultancy would say. And they would also likely say, we don't do run state. Most consultancies won't touch run state at all. It's scary to them, but they'll tell you that they can do an operations assessment and they'll give you recommendations on how to fix your operations or how to update your policies or how to update your HR handbook to be able to do this. And then when the auditors arrive, they're happy to do additional consulting work to sit down with the auditors and walk through that documentation and to spot check controls. Nothing wrong with that approach. It's just what we find, not what most companies need. Our approach is if we come in to help you with CMMC, we're going to help you look at your broader portfolio very quickly. Is it just your communication and collaboration apps, which would be an Office 365 thing, or is it broader than that with line of business applications, even things like your HRIS system, even things like where your time is logged. All of those things are important because if the bad guys got your accounts receivable list, they didn't know who your customers are. If the bad guys got your time logging system, then they know which human beings are working on which customers in the federal government. And so then they know who to socially engineer, for example. And so it's normally not just an Office 365 discussion. It is far more a managed line of business application discussion. That's something that needs to be talked through rapidly. Which things are in scope, which are not. And then what are the good, better, best options for each app? If you've got 20 apps that need to move or to become compliant, is it better to keep them on premise and make some changes? Is it better to lift and shift? Is it better to move it with slight refactoring? For example, moving to PaaS backend, something like Azure SQL backend, or is it better to move it with some slight refactoring that might be hardened containerization and hardening so that you meet the DevSecOps reference mandate? Or is it something like an old mainframe application, AS400 app, that needs to be completely rewritten? Usually in a portfolio for customers that we find, there's a combination of those. So step one is to quickly understand that, not assess anything but the plan. Then secondly, rapidly stand up, harden, and run your Azure government subscriptions, because even if you're just doing Office 365, you're going to need Azure Gov there, for example, for Azure Active Directory, for example, for log analytics, for example, for Sentinel, if we're using first-party stuff. Thirdly, rapidly stand up and harden and run your GCC or GCC High tenant. We'll help you decide that. So some customers are going to need GCC High, some are going to need GCC. We'll help you understand that and the costs associated with that. Sometimes you need both, and it makes sense to have multiple tenants. It just depends. We can help you with that very quickly, along with the endpoints. What are you going to do with endpoints? Meaning, what is your ecosystem today? What SIM tools are you using? Which will you use? And then fourthly, rapidly work with your policy, compliance, and legal teams to update your existing content. Like if you've got IT policies and handbooks and whatnot, or if you're a new company or newly getting into the space with a government provider, you'll need new content. And as a side effect, number 5, there is a side effect of our management tooling. We'll be able to stand up with you, stand up automated reporting that is a different experience for the auditors, rather than them come in, sitting with you for hours in a room, trying to figure out which controls they're going to go through and spot check with you. It becomes, here's the dashboard, here's where we're compliant. Now, which ones do you want to double click on? So just a different experience. It's not that one's better than the other. The consultancy approach is fine. We like ours better, and our customers seem to as well. The journey you're going to go on with or without us is to move from the left here. What is your current state of your IT portfolio, both on-premise and cloud? What are the apps that are there that are going to be beholden to this? What is the data? What else exists there? You're going to have to plan those in waves, right? What things are moving first? Are you going to do the Office 365 scope first? Then what about your HRS system? Then what about your financial system? Then what about your, supply chain stuff? Like what is beholden and how is it going to move? And then what order is that stuff going to move? And then for each application or each workload, again, is it lift and shift? Is it slight refactoring, or is it complete rewrite or migration to a SaaS platform? And so ultimately, it's a journey, but it needs to happen very quickly given the timelines for CMMC. And that is going to be your journey with or without us and with or without another partner. A couple of examples of customers for us. Some commercial companies, as you would expect, are getting into the government business. And so an example customer for us is a storied international company who has stood up a new federal subsidiary. They are a mature international company. They've established that federal EIN. They had three options. Option one, just go figure out how to do it themselves. But they had challenges there because their IT team wasn't full of experts in the CMMC space. They weren't full of experts in, the cloud space. And all of those folks aren't U.S. citizens today, all their admins. And they knew that all of their IT services weren't all compliant. But that was an option. They could do it themselves and figure it out. The second option was to get a normal consultancy to help them with number one. Therefore, their learning curve would be shortened. That's certainly an option. And then the third option was to do the easy button with us. So we came in here, with our policies, set up their subscription, and we worked with their legal teams and HR teams to adjust those policies for them. We set up their subscription. We're able to run our infrastructure as code to harden it. Same thing with their Azure Gov tenant to automatically harden it. We were able to do the same with their endpoints. We were able to do the same thing with SIM. We were able to bring in our automated dashboards that show the compliancy. And so the auditors, as they show up or as new customers show up that then need validation that they are compliant, they point those folks to us. We own it with them. And their users were live within a matter of weeks. Nothing wrong with option one or two. It's just that for them and their business, 3 was the right option, and that was the CloudFit option. Second example, large DIB customer. A mature, large company, tens of thousands of users, hundreds of applications in scope outside of their portfolio. First step for them was to overlay their teams. They already have their IT teams. We're not there to displace them. We're not there to displace their existing third-party vendors. We're there to overlay and to help them. I always say, I'm the guy that CloudFit's job is to help you say, these are the 50 plates that need to spin. And if that's all we do, great. Or here are the 50 plates that need to spin. Let me sit on top of those plates long-term with my platform to make sure that they all spin. I don't have to do all the work. I can't scale. I don't want to scale to millions of companies, which is in multi-millions of applications worldwide if I put everybody in a seat. I don't want to. I will if I need to, but I don't want to. So in some cases, we say, here are the 50 plates that spin. Let us put our layer over the top. And then oftentimes here are the plates that need to spin. We put our layer over the top. Plates, 1 through 48 are spinning fine, but Mr. Customer, you don't have anyone to spin 49 and 50. Would you like for me to spin those? And so that's what I mean by overlay. So then we help them drive the workloads, their cyber, their policies, their endpoint management, the migrations, and so forth until they're good. And then if the customer ever wants to displace us, I say, look, we've got it now, CloudFit. Thank you. That hasn't yet happened. But one day that might, and that's fine. We're not here to tie you to a contract. It goes back to our core values of serve. We're not trying to put you in a long-term contract to lock you in. We put you in a long-term contract if you want to help you financially, but we're not there to lock you into a contract or have you be stuck with us. So that was the first step for them, was Office 365 and their endpoints. And then the next step, once that was done, factory-style app migrations for literally hundreds of apps, where we're the ones helping them prioritize, either lift and shift, slightly refactor, or rewrite, and then with us owning, so that I always say nobody wants to be the guy or gal that got fired for moving too quickly to the cloud. We give them some insurance in that way, where we're there to make sure that things go well. And if they ever get to the point that they don't want us there anymore or don't need us, that's fine. We're happy to step away. But factory style app migrations. All right, common what ifs. So before we get to the Q&A side of things, I'll just take these on up front. Customers often ask, what if we just want help with Office 365? That's fine. They also will do just Office 365, no problem for us. What if we want to manage our own endpoints and we don't want CloudFit to do it? That's fine. We don't mind that. We can help you on the Office 365 side. You manage your endpoints. We'll advise there, and we can move on. Also, customers ask, hey, we've got our own multi-million-dollar investment in our SIM product. We don't want to change that. And we don't want you to have to worry about managing a CloudFit. We want our cyber team still doing that. That's fine. We'll integrate with them. We'll give them input. We can send inputs to them. We can tie our platform to their SIM tool if needed, but that is no trouble. We do that frequently. Customers ask, what if we want to integrate with our existing tooling, whether they're using ServiceNow or OpenView, or you pick a product, we're likely integrating with it at our scale today. We don't have an agenda to push our tool. The point is, if I'm there and taking accountability, my tool will also be there. It's not costing you anything, but I'm also, just like I'm not there to displace your people or your partners, I'm not there to displace your tools. I'm there to integrate with them to make sure that we achieve the outcome for you. Customers said, what if we don't want Office 365 and we just need you to help with one line of business app or more than one line of business app? That's fine. What about COTS application, commercial off-the-shelf software? We're doing that. We're running, for example, Kronos on IaaS for customers for their timekeeping for this purpose. We're running Hyperion on IaaS and running other financial systems for multi-billion-dollar corporations on IaaS to be able to achieve these regulations. And so COTS apps are no problem for us. What about I don't put this one on there, but what about applications that we wrote ourselves, Carol? What about, we've got a custom line of business app that we wrote with or without an existing dev team? That's fine. That's part of what we do at Microsoft, to be honest, is we take on the cyber and the management and sustained engineering application development of apps that we didn't write in the first place within the walls of Microsoft even. What about our existing and future SaaS footprint? Like, let's say I mentioned Kronos for timekeeping. Let's say you've got Kronos SaaS. That's fine. We're supporting that for customers today. What about from a healthcare perspective? Maybe you're a healthcare provider that's also doing things for DoD or the federal government. That's great. We're helping customers with SaaS Cerner today, for example. It's unlikely that we're going to hit something that we haven't seen before. What if we want to do it until we're ready? What if CloudFit, we just want to work with you until we're ready ourselves operationally? That's fine. Again, I'm not here to lock you into a long-term contract. What if we want to do it all ourselves and we just want you to overlay our teams or to advise us? That's fine too. And then also we get the question all the time, do you know DevSecOps? And the answer is yes, we've done that and have led that for many. I think it's safe to say many DoD commands. We are well aware of Cloud One and Platform One. In fact, we have full-time CloudFit architects serving in those teams today within Cloud One and Platform One. So there's no way to be closer at the forefront of that within the DoD than we are. And the same is the case inside of Microsoft. Things I can't say here that we're doing for Microsoft due to NDA. Just rest assured that within what we're doing with Microsoft's product groups, we are helping them deliver on their stack for DevSecOps. So those are some of the common what ifs, just proactively addressed before we get to the Q&A. And so Heidi,